Hare Krishna. Okay, so let me share my screen as well. Okay. Is my screen visible to you all?
Yes, Guruji.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So we are into the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. 17th chapter is entitled Divisions of Faith. So let's begin the session with a short recap on the 16th chapter. So in the 16th chapter, it is it was quite a short chapter, but a lot of points to discuss and ponder upon. Basically, Krishna was speaking about all the 26 divine qualities that a devotee of the Supreme Lord possesses. And he was also talking about the 6 demonic qualities. So we may be wondering that in the earlier yugas, in the Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, or Dwapara Yuga, so we all have heard about the pastimes of Lord Rama or Lord Krishna killing many demons, right from Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, uh, Putana, Trinavartasura. So many demons got killed by the Supreme Lord. We may be wondering that if one has to be called as a demon, then he should be ferocious looking, having a strong and protruded teeth, big eyes, uh, so and having lot of weapons in hand, killing everyone. So we may be wondering if only such person should be called as a demon. Not necessarily, as the scriptures say, in Kali Yuga, all of us have demonic qualities. Externally speaking, we may not be looking like a demon, like Hiranyakasipu or Ravana, but internally, all of us, uh, wantedly or unwantedly, have many of the demonic qualities. So in chapter 16, it was like Krishna showing us mirror in front of us. So these are the 6 demonic qualities. Now you look into the mirror and see which of these qualities are applicable to you. And Arjuna was taken back with the initial verses. He was thinking, okay, Krishna is speaking about demonic qualities. Does that mean I am also a demon? Krishna clarifies that. So, oh Arjuna, these are the divine and demonic qualities. You don't have any demonic qualities. You are all divine. So, because Arjuna was a pure devotee of Supreme Lord Krishna. Whereas when it comes to us, when we look into the mirror and know that these are the demonic qualities, having pride about our accomplishments, thinking that we are the Lord of everything, not submissive to the Supreme Lord's instructions, envious, uh, and having all the unwanted qualities like anger and greed. Uh, so, when we do a self introspection, unfortunately, we all have some portion or a large portion of demonic qualities. And we also know the divine qualities. There are 26 in numbers. So when we introspect our own self, do we really possess any divine qualities? Honestly speaking, we seem to have more demonic qualities than divine qualities. So this chapter is was very important first to identify where we stand with regards to our Krishna conscious practices. We may be thinking that we are a nice devotee, no, we worship Krishna, we are always gentle, we don't consider harm to others. So we may be thinking like that. Hmm. But Krishna shows what are the qualities that are required for a devotee, what are the qualities that are not required, that should not be present for a devotee. And subsequently, um, okay, so basically the first section was all about divine qualities, and then the second section about the demonic qualities. And finally, Krishna is speaking about three gates that would lead us to hell. What are those three gates? Lust, anger, and
Anger and greed.
kama, krodha, and lobha. The other bad qualities that are mentioned in the scriptures, moha, mada, and matsarya, they are an extension to these three uh, demonic qualities. So it all starts with lust. So we become lusty, desirous of material accomplishments. Uh, So when the lust develops and we are not able to fulfill our lusty desire, that leads to anger. Whereas when the lust is fulfilled, it leads to greed. So basically, I want more and more. Typically, you can find this in children, right? So children, when they ask for something, when you take the child out to the market and the child sees different toys lined up in different shops, then the child starts crying, "Oh, Papa, I want this, I want that," a big list. And then when you go to a shop and buy the child one or two toys, the child is not contented, right? So it becomes more greedy. The child becomes more greedy. I want more and more. No, I am not contented with this two toys. I want that toy and I want this toy. Right? So typically we can find this in children. Unfortunately, it is not just with children. Children may be greedy about toys. When it comes to us, the grown-ups, we are greedy about many things in life. So we want to achieve women of our choice, get married to a girl of our choice, uh, and we are not stopping at that. The lusty greed grows and grows, and then we want to have children, we want to have a good family life, nice family car, a good house, independent house, so on and so forth, right? Unfortunately, because we are all coming to this material world with certain quotient of karma, we cannot overachieve what we are destined. We may be destined with a small 2 BHK apartment and a small family, but we are not happy with that. We want more than what we are destined for. So that's when all these bad qualities come out of us. And Krishna is saying these are the prominent three bad qualities which are going to lead us to hellish life in our next life. So we need to decide and demonstrate what kind of life we should be leading. Should we be leading a contented life, a devotional life, possessing these 26 qualities, or we want to become demonic, going after our so called material desires? So that we need to decide. A devotee or a Vaishnava, it's not just about external appearance. Someone may be having a nice forehead tilak or namam, as what they call in Tamil, and you may be having a nice sacred thread, wearing a nice dhoti. So these are all external appearances, which are needed to some extent. If you call yourself as a devotee, you should have a nice Vaishnava tilak. Basically, the tilak represents the two lines in the tilak represents the Supreme Lord Krishna's two lotus feet, and the mark below that actually represents Tulsi Maharani. Tulsi is the topmost devotee of Lord Krishna. So we are having the Lord's lotus feet in our forehead and the Lord's devotee, Tulsi, as well. And different other Vaishnava sects, they have different Vaishnava marks, all having proper reasoning as to why they wear it like this. Like, for example, the Sri Vaishnavism, they wear a red marking in between which represents Shri Devi or Lakshmi Devi. In the other Sampradaya, like the Madhva Sampradaya, they have a black marking which actually represents Yajna, right? So these are external appearances. But more than our external appearance, what is there inside our heart is more important. Are we having that element of bhakti or devotion towards Lord? Are we having that seva bhav, that service attitude, serving the Supreme Lord Krishna and his devotees? So these are the questions that we need to be asking. And these nice divine qualities, they develop in us by performing bhakti. There is no shortcut to developing these divine qualities. By constantly chanting Krishna's holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What happens is that this Maha Mantra is so powerful that it can cleanse our heart. Just like how when your house is unclean, you take a broomstick and you clean it with your hand. Similarly, our heart cannot be cleaned with broomstick. It has to be cleansed by constantly taking shelter of the holy name, constantly chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It is mentioned, Chedodarpana Marjanam, Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvarpanam, Shreyakairavas Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidya Vadu Jivanam, Anandhambudivardhanam, Pratipadam, Purnamrita Swadanam, Sarvatmasnapanam, Param Vijayate, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. The Sri Krishna Sankirtanam is Param Vijayate. It is capable of winning over the entire world. It is predicted that in 10,000 years' time, the entire world is going to be flooded with the Harinama Sankirtanam. We are actually seeing the glimpse of that. Now, if you see in every nook and corner of the world, whether you go to China or Russia, there are devotees who are chanting the holy name of Lord Hari, right? So, only by chanting this holy name, it actually cleanses our heart. Cheto darpana marjanam. Marjanam means cleaning. Cheto means our consciousness. Our consciousness can be cleansed of all bad qualities simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If you look into the present state of affairs in the world today, we find so many demonic people. Recently, as well, we saw the incident that happened in Kolkata, where a young doctor was raped and murdered by ghastly people. They say one person, now they are saying many people who did that unfortunate demonic activity. But why all this is happening in the present world? We find elsewhere in the world that people kill others in the name of religion. No? So all these are happening because people possess demonic qualities. To some of us, these demonic qualities may be in the sleeping state. It is not awakened, but the desires are still there in the heart. Whereas for others, the desires are manifesting into sinful activity. So whether it is in a sleeping state or in a manifested state, demonic quality is a demonic quality. It has to be removed completely. So taking to the holy name of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the only means by which we can get rid of our demonic qualities and slowly start imbibing all these divine qualities. Right? So, this is a prelude to the last chapter. Any question that any of you may have before we proceed to the next chapter?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, pranams.
Hare Krishna. Yeah,
Ah,
Mother, your question that you asked on the chat, maybe we will take it towards the end if you are okay.
yes, sure, ma'am. Sure,
As it is
Prabhuji.
not directly related to this chapter, I will take it towards the end.
Okay, okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, for all others, Srividya Mataji had a question which she asked me on chat, on my WhatsApp chat. So I said I will answer to that question for everyone's benefit. So that way I will take it towards the end. Okay, so anybody else? There's any question on this chapter, 16th chapter?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay, so let's proceed with the 17th chapter. The first section, it is actually talking about the principle which Krishna is laying down here. The activities of a conditioned soul, it is governed by the three modes of material nature. That is what Krishna is going to speak in the first section. So this chapter, 17th chapter, is a further elaboration of the three modes, Sattva, Raja, and Tamoguna. And in the middle section, Krishna speaks about the different aspects of lifestyle, how the three modes are influencing different aspects of living entities' lifestyle. And finally, the conclusive statement by Krishna. Okay, as in the most of the cases, it begins with Arjuna's question. Can one of you read the translation?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Arjuna inquired, O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of scripture but worship according to their own imagination? Are they in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance? Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. So Arjuna is saying, Ye Shastra Vidim Utsrijya, Yajante Shraddhayanvitaha. So basically, Shraddha means faith. So there are people, in fact, 99% of the population, they don't worship according to the principles of Shastras. Rather, they do their own imagination and following the practices which, according to them, are correct. So Arjuna is asking, are they doing it in goodness or passion or ignorance? Sattvam maho rajastamaha. So that is Arjuna's question here. So now let's see what Krishna is going to speak. So Krishna's reply is that very profound and straightforward. Krishna says, if one does not follow the Vedas, one will follow the natural instincts which will be in goodness, passion, or ignorance. Now, if you recollect in the earlier chapter on goodness, passion, and ignorance, what was the conclusion that we came to? Which mode should we be operating on out of these three modes?
Mode of goodness.
Sattva.
Is that the case?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Sattva guna.
Sattva guna.
Okay. Any other answers?
But actually, we should transcend all three modes
Exactly.
to be in pure sattva.
Yes. Sattva guna is not good.
Yeah,
Right?
Prabhuji, you asked from the three modes. That's why.
Yeah. So the answer could be not any of these three. So I was testing your attentive skills during that chapter. Kamala Mataji passed that exam, that quiz. So basically, these three modes, Sattva, Rajo, and Tamo, none of these three are good. Krishna is saying Traigunya Vishaya Vedan Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. These three gunas, they are binding all the conditioned souls. Oh Arjuna, get out of these three modes. You are not supposed to be working on either of these three modes. Mode of goodness is something like a launch pad. But from there, we should launch ourselves to the mode of Shuddha Sattva or pure goodness. Right? So it is something like the rocket launch or a satellite launch. So you will have a launch station, but the satellite or the rocket cannot remain in that launch station forever. It has to be launched from there and it should go and fix itself in an orbit higher up. Right? So similarly, the goodness, mode of goodness can be a launch pad for us. Be in mode of goodness, sattva guna, but try to cross beyond these three modes, sattva, rajo, and tamo guna. Why somebody has to remain in one of these three modes? Because they are not following the Vedas. Because they follow their natural instincts. Sattva guna, I will take for example, people like those who are nature lovers, they go to a nice hill station or they even go to Himalayas. They want to remain at peace, uh, doing some meditation which they feel is correct. These are people who are in the mode of goodness. They don't follow anything as per the scriptures. They follow their own instincts. Materially speaking, such people may be considered as good people, right? But as per the Vedas or the words of Krishna, that is not good. That is not the ultimate. The ultimate is to follow the recommendation of the Vedas and make your life in tune to the instructions of the Vedas. So that is what Krishna wants from all of us. Right? Hope it is clear. Okay. Now, so the different aspects of lifestyle that Krishna is going to cover as part of this chapter. In the 14th chapter, Krishna only gave a brief prelude to the three modes. Now, in this chapter, he is going to dwell in detail on the different practical aspects in our life. So, day in and day out, we eat, right? So, some of us eat 3 times a day. Few of us may eat, many more times during the day. So, what we eat determines our character or determines the mode in which we are operating. So, that is one aspect which Krishna is going to cover. And we all have different inclination towards worshipping different demigods or different devatas or different people. So, that also determines the mode in which we are operating. And people perform different fire sacrifices or yajnas. So, how does someone in goodness or passion or ignorance indulge in worshipping or sacrificing? So, that Krishna will explain. And Krishna also speaks about charity in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, some of the aspects that we are going to look into in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So basically, food, faith and worship, food, sacrifice, our conduct, speech, mind control, and charity. So these are the 7 aspects of lifestyle that Krishna speaks about. So we'll begin with the example of the 3 brothers. Who are these 3 brothers? Quite evident.
Ravana, Kumbhakarna.
Ravanasura, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana.
Vibhishana. Right? So actually speaking, one of the key factor that determines the mode, whether we are in Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, or Tamoguna, is actually the environment around us. If the environment is completely filled with Rajoguna and Tamoguna, even though we may want to be in Sattva Guna, it is very difficult. Any example that you can think of where the environment determines our mode? Any practical
Prabhu,
example?
watching cricket match,
Yes.
sheer waste of time, seriously.
So
I can chant at the time.
if in our house the kids they tune to the TV and watch cricket match, obviously we are also tempted to watch, isn't it? I had this experience where in my childhood, whenever I have examination, my mom and dad they wouldn't allow me to switch on the TV, but unfortunately, in our neighbor's house, they switch on the TV and they play the cricket match loud and clear. I would be very tempted to watch TV because as soon as Sachin Tendulkar hits a six, there will be a huge sound or a clap, and I get tempted to switch on my TV, right? So that is a nice example where even though I may be restricting myself to the temptation, but the environment is pulling me towards that, right? Another example that we can think of is somebody who has a habit of drinking, right? Even though he may want to quit drinking, but still the people around the person, because unfortunately they are also drunkards, you may not be able to give up drinking, right? So, but in this specific example or case, where in a family you will find three people, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana. Three of them, though they were born in a demonic family, so they were Brahmanas by birth, but their mentalities or their environment were completely demonic. So what happened? Two of them, Ravana and Kumbhakarna, they were in the mode of passion and ignorance, respectively. Ravana was in which mode? He was in the
Asura.
mode of
Rajas,
Asura. Asura.
Rajas, Rajo.
Ravana is in passion.
Rajogunam.
right? Passion. So basically, he wanted to achieve more. He wanted to expand his kingdom. He wants to win over the heavenly kingdom. So he was praying to Lord Shiva. He was a staunch devotee of Lord Shiva, but unfortunately, his intention was to acquire more and more in terms of material aspirations. So that's why he is completely in the mode of passion, Rajoguna. And when it comes to Kumbhakarna, he is completely aloof from everything else. He is famous for his sleep, right? He would continuously sleep for 6-7 months during the year. And what about Vibhishan? Vibhishan was, you can say that he was crossing beyond goodness as well, right? He was a devotee of Lord Rama, staunch devotee of Lord Rama. How is it possible that Vibhishana, in spite of being in the same family, demonic family, but still he exhibited such divine qualities? That is possible because of his bhakti. It is given that, the example that we can think of is our tongue, right? So, what is our tongue surrounded with?
Teeth.
Teeth. 32 teeth. And all these teeth are quite sharp and it is capable of cutting the tongue, right? Some of us have experience of our teeth biting our tongue, right?
Yes.
Any of you had?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So tongue as such is quite soft, but it is surrounded by teeth which are quite sharp. So this is like an example of Vibhishana surrounded by demonic people. But still, he was situated in the same place, surrounded by these people, but he was not harmed by any of them. So a devotee is like that, like the tongue. It is very difficult for us actually, because we are all not at the level of Vibhishana. We don't have so much of devotion for Lord Ram. But Vibhishan, because of his unconditional and unwavering devotion to Lord Rama, he was able to maintain his level of devotion in spite of surrounded by Ravana. Ravana was enthusing Vibhishana to also become a demon like him. But Vibhishana was very, very strong in his devotional practices. So this is an example for all of us, where we may want to practice Krishna consciousness or bhakti, but our surrounding environment, our family, may not be supporting to our inclinations. Right? I'm sure some of you may have that experience also, isn't it? Your family may not support your Krishna conscious practices. They may discourage you. Why you should be practicing Bhagavad Gita at this age? You want to become a sannyasi or what? You get all these kind of statements from your own family members. But when we are strong in our bhakti, when our roots are connected to other similar thought process devotees having similar thought process, when we are connected to such people, then we can survive and remain in Krishna consciousness, just like how Vibhishana was able to. Right? So that is the reason behind I have put across this slide, that in spite of your unfavorable situations, but still you will be able to practice bhakti if you are determined.
Prabhuji, Kumbhakaran was in the mode of
Ignorance.
he was in Tamoguna, yeah.
Yes.
He used to sleep so long.
Sorry?
Well, he used to sleep a lot, no? So you're in Tamoguna.
Yes, that's what I mentioned. Yeah. So we are a sum total of various choices we make. What are the various choices? We will see in the upcoming slides. So I was also mentioning one more point during the 14th chapter. Is it that we all remain in a single mode, maybe in a mode of goodness or passion throughout our life, during all
No.
parts of our life? No.
No,
No,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. No,
It fluctuates.
Prabhuji. According to the situation, it changes, but we have to be in our control, and we see to it that we are in a good mode.
Right. So
the three modes of nature oscillate always.
Yes. So we will see. Today we are going to see around 8 aspects. We will find in each of these 8 aspects that if you introspect your own self, we may not be in the same mode across all these different aspects. First, we will look into the faith and worship. So Krishna is speaking this statement here. One of you can read this.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods. Those in the mode of passion worship the demons. And those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So those who are in the mode of goodness, they worship the demigods. So now, who are the demigods? Demigods are the agents of Supreme Lord Krishna. So we need to understand this. It is like this. You have a government, you have a prime minister. Now the prime minister is Prime Minister is Modi. And you have different departments like the finance department, you have the education department, you have agriculture, so on and so forth. And you have ministers in charge for the different departments. Now, who is the head of the government? Prime Minister.
Prime Minister.
Right. So under his jurisdiction, all these different departments and the different in charges, they work. Just like how the different departments are headed by different people, and these are different posts. The posts can change each year. Like, for example, next year, the Prime Minister may decide that I don't want Nirmala as the Finance Minister, I want somebody else as Finance Minister. So the posts keep changing. Right? So similarly, these devatas, they are different posts. Like, for example, Indra, the present Indra, is in charge of the post of governing the heavenly planet. Indra can actually change. As it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, one time, Indra, because he was disrespecting his own spiritual master Brihaspati, Indra was actually coming on his elephant Vahana, Airavat, and he saw his own spiritual master, Guru Brihaspati, in front of him, but he did not bow down. He was in great pride. So Brihaspati cursed him, and so he was actually removed from his post, and he had to come down to the material world. So during that absence, when Indra was um, taken out of his position, Brahma had to replace that position. So Brahma took over the position of Indra. Right? So that goes to show how all these different devatas, they actually represent that post. And in elaboration, there are around 33 crore different devatas, each one of them in charge of certain activity. So men in mode of goodness, they worship one or many devatas. They don't accept supremacy of Lord Krishna. But the Shastras clearly say, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, as Srila Prabhupada often says. And all these different demigods, they are subservients of Supreme Lord Krishna. Right? So that is about people in the mode of goodness. But what about men in the mode of passion? Men in the mode of passion, they worship demons. Right? Like, for example, some of the people, they may worship the politicians. They think that the politicians are God. Right? Like typically the party workers of a political party, if you see, they have a badge and they have the leader's photo in that badge, and they think that their leader is the Supreme Lord. Because they are giving them money and position and posts in that political party, they start worshipping that person. Right? We can see that very prominently in Kali Yuga. Unfortunately, people are worshipping such political leaders. Some people, they may worship cinema actors. They even build temples.
Temples for also the cinema actors and
Right.
all.
Right. So these are all typically people who are in the mode of passion. And what about those in the mode of ignorance? They prominently worship ghosts and spirits because they want to harm others. Right? You would have heard this about the tantric system. So tantric system is where you have such an evil mentality that you want to kill somebody, and in doing that, you start worshipping the ghosts and spirits. So such faith and worship are typically in the mode of ignorance. We should be avoiding worshipping in the mode of ignorance and passion for sure. If you are in the mode of goodness, worshipping the demigods, you can slowly elevate yourself to the mode of Sattva, Shuddha Sattva, where you start worshipping directly the Supreme Lord Krishna. Right? So is this clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So the best worship is to worship the Supreme Lord, Shri Radha Krishna. Right? So that is the highest form of worshipping. See, one thing that we need to be very cautious is that we cannot worship Lord Krishna alone or Radharani alone. You cannot worship Vishnu alone or Lakshmi alone. It should always be a combination of Lakshmi Narayana or Radha Krishna. People, like for example, during the Diwali time, they perform Lakshmi Puja. Many people, they perform Lakshmi Puja. Why they are performing Lakshmi Puja? Because they want Lakshmi in their house.
Even yesterday, here all celebrated
Varalakshmi Vratam.
Lakshmi Vrata, right? So, that is typically persons who are worshipping in the mode of goodness. They only want Lakshmi Devi in their house. Lakshmi Kadaksham. Why that is not considered as superior? Because it is kind of synonymous to the mentality of Ravana. Ravana wanted Sita Devi on his side, but he did not want Rama. That is not recommended in the scriptures. You should always worship Lakshmi Devi along with Lord Vishnu. Because Lakshmi should be engaged in the service of Supreme Lord Vishnu.
Vishnu.
Lakshmi represents money. If you have money with you, you should employ it in Lord Krishna's service. You should not be using it only for your own sense gratification. Oh, I will get a lot of money and I will build a nice house. That is Ravana mentality, unfortunately. Right? So, this is condemned by Supreme Lord Krishna. You should be elevating yourself higher than worshipping the demigods. You should come to the platform of worshipping Supreme Lord Radha and Krishna.
Prabhuji, then why do most of the people, what's the significance of Diwali? Why people celebrate so much and worship?
They should always worship. That's what, see, many of these practices, they are not done with a proper Sastric backing. The Sastric backing is that we should be doing 5 days of worshipping the Supreme Lord Krishna, but all these 5 days have significance related to Supreme Lord Krishna. How many of us celebrate Diwali thinking about Lord Krishna? We only think about crackers, we think about the new film that got released, we think about all the famous interviews on TV. Who is focusing on Krishna? Right? You have the Naraka Chaturdasi, which is before the Diwali day. We should be remembering Krishna. On the Diwali day, we should be remembering the Supreme Lord Krishna being tied up by Mother Yashoda.
Yeah, Prabhuji, we do Damodar Aarti.
Is it on that day, Guruji?
Damodar Aarti.
Yes.
Is it on that day, Mother Yashoda tied Krishna on that day,
Yes.
Guruji?
Yes. The famous Damodar Leela, where Supreme Lord Krishna was bound up by the love of Mother Yashoda. That signifies the Diwali day.
1 month we do that, Prabhuji. Damodar Aarti.
Yeah. So it's all done by our own speculative mind. Anyhow, so let's not get into that detail now. So the life lesson for us is, by definition, there can be only one Supreme. So don't settle for anything less than what you deserve. Okay, so next comes an interesting aspect. Food. What is the food that we take? It is the food that we take, it could be in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance.
Goodness, passion. Goodness.
Goodness, Prabhuji. Because we offer to Krishna.
No, again, coming back, that is where the correction is required. Goodness is not offered to Krishna. That is Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. Krishna doesn't want us to remain either in goodness, passion, or ignorance. He wants us to elevate ourselves above goodness. What does goodness mean? In simple terms, when somebody is a vegetarian, that means he is in goodness. Right? The food is wholesome, it is juicy, it is pleasing. It will result in long life strength and disease-free and happiness. So typically when you look into people who perform yoga, so-called yogas, they wake up early in the morning and they eat very sattvic food that doesn't have onion, garlic, or it is not very spicy. So these are typically food in the mode of goodness. And food in the mode of passion is something which is very bitter or sour, hot, like for example, the pickles. Many people, they like pickle, right? Very, very spicy. Something which is very burning, containing different masalas. So these are food which will result us in distress and disease. And what about mode of ignorance? Food that is tasteless, decomposed. And typically the non-vegetarian food falls into this category. So usually it is mentioned in the Ayurveda as well that you cannot eat food which is cooked 3 hours before. So you cook a food and you eat it within 3 hours. That is the prescription coming from the Ayurveda. So what about non-vegetarian food? You kill the animal probably 5 days before. It gets transported to the shop, and then you buy from the shop and you cook it the next day. So you are actually eating a decomposed thing, right? So this is going to lead us to infection, disease, and contaminating. So these are typically the food in the mode of goodness, food in the different modes.
Ignorance.
Yeah. So goodness, passion, and ignorance we saw. But the life lesson is that we are what we eat. We may find somebody who is very rude in behavior. Somebody may get angry in no time. So why all these are happening? Because it's due to the influence of the food that we eat. One time Mahatma Gandhi, when he was jailed for his Satyagraha movement, you all know the relationship that he had with his mother. He used to love his mother and follow her instructions. So one time, Mahatma Gandhi had a dream in the jail that he was about to kill his own mother. So he woke up to a shock and he was pondering over why he had such a bad dream. Then he went and asked the jailer, and he asked him, "Who cooked the food for me yesterday?" Then the jailer said, "Oh, Gandhiji, usually we employ a certain cook, but yesterday the cook did not come, so we requested one of the one of the prisoner, if he can go and cook." So then Gandhiji inquired the details about that prisoner. As it turned out, that prisoner who cooked food for Gandhi, he actually was a murderer. He murdered his own mother, and because of which he was jailed in that prison. So just see how a person who cooked food for Gandhi, he was a murderer of his own mother. Eating that food, Gandhiji had a dream of killing his own mother. So food has so much of impact on us. Just imagine we all go to restaurants, hotels, and we eat food there. Is there any guarantee that the person who is cooking is having good consciousness?
No.
No, right? The person
So
obviously,
what we think it goes into the while cooking, your emotions and all
yes,
get changes in the form of the cooking, and to whom we serve also
absolutely,
gets affected.
absolutely. So learning this, we need to be very, very cautious where we are eating food from. The best thing is that we prepare food ourselves with nice Krishna consciousness, thinking that we are cooking for Lord Krishna, offer it to Krishna, and eat only prasadam. That is the best mode of eating. right? So,
Prabhuji, one small question. So the food that we, the food
Mataji,
that
if
we
I may
are,
request, sorry to interrupt. You can park your questions and we will take the
okay, I'll
questions
write
at the end.
down and keep. I'll write and keep.
Yeah, thank you. So the best food is the remnants of food that is offered to Supreme Personality of Lord Krishna. Because that is beyond these three modes. And that is in the mode of Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva means pure goodness. Goodness that we find in this material world is contaminated with passion and ignorance. So that is why goodness is also not good. But when we offer food to Krishna, he actually removes all the sinful things from the food. Like, for example, somebody may say that he is a vegetarian. But even while you are cooking the vegetarian food, whether it is a grain or a vegetable, you are knowingly or unknowingly killing some insects or animals or worms, right? So you are incurring certain sinful reactions from it. So how you can overcome that sinful reaction? Only by offering that food to Krishna. That is why the food that is offered to Krishna, which is called prasadam, is beyond these three modes. Right? So we, the devotees of Krishna, we are not just vegetarians. We are prasadatarians, which means we only eat prasadam. Right. So let's get to the next section. Sacrifices in three modes. You know, in the current world, we find many people, they perform different sacrifices. You know, some of them, they perform Ganapati Homa, Vastu Homa, when they get into a new house. You know, people, they perform different homas for begetting children. Some of them, they perform Navagraha Homa to overcome the doshas, right? So where do we categorize all these people? So that's the question in front of us. So any sacrifice that we perform for material benefit, where is it categorized into?
Passion.
Passion. Right? So if you want to get rid of your Navagraha dosha so that you can have a peaceful and a happy life, which category is that?
Passion.
Passion. Passion.
Right? So it is for material benefit. You are not even in the mode of goodness. See what is mentioned in the mode of goodness. You only do the sacrifice as a matter of duty, not for reward. You are not doing that sacrifice expecting something in return. That is in the mode of goodness. When you are doing sacrifices for some material benefit, it comes into the category of passion. And you are doing something without any direction of the scripture. Like, for example, some people, they may give sacrifices of goat to the demigods. Right? In the Grama Devata or to Amman, they give goat sacrifices. Where is it categorized? It can be categorized in ignorance only. Right? So it is not conducted without any directions of the scripture. And they distribute prasadam also. They serve goat meat to all the people who are assembled. Right? And they don't chant any Vedic hymns. They don't give any remunerations for priests. It's all done out of ignorance. So this is clear categorization given by Krishna. Now, when it comes to devotional service, chanting of the holy name, that is the best sacrifice, especially mentioned in the age of Kali Yuga. Right? So this is called Sankirtana Yajna. This is one kind of sacrifice, one kind of yajna. And it is mentioned in the scripture, whatever result was obtained in Satya Yuga by meditation on Vishnu, because in Satya Yuga, people had long life. They went to the forest and they were meditating for thousands of years. And in Treta Yuga, people were performing sacrifices. As you can find Dasharath Maharaj, he was performing Putra Kameshti Yaga, right? So for begetting children. So those are prescriptions for the Treta Yuga people. And what about Dwapara Yuga? People were performing deity worship, temple worship, right? So these days we find many ancient temples, especially you go to the southern part of India, you find different temples which are built 5,000 years back. Because in Dwapara Yuga, the mode of worship was to worship the Lord in the deity form. Right? But what about Kali Yuga? Kalautad Hari Kirtanat. In Kali Yuga, the best form of worship is to chant the holy name of Lord. This Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the prescription for the age of Kali. We cannot perform meditation, we cannot perform sacrifices, we cannot even perform deity worship. We have seen many temples, ancient temples. We are finding those temples in a pitiable state. It is very hard to maintain such big temples. So the best way of worshipping is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Right? So we need to make Hare Krishna as our lifeline. That is the best form of sacrifice. Now, let's get into the content. So, the different austerities that people perform, right? So, in mode of goodness, they perform different austerities as a matter of duty. And what about other austerities? Like, for example, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, he also performed austerity. But what was the intention of such austerity or tapasya?
To
He
be
should be
immortal.
worshipped as a god.
Become powerful.
Become powerful, right? He wanted self-glorification, selfish motives, right? Or you can even categorize into ignorance. He wanted to destroy others. So these are the different categories of people. Whereas in the people in the mode of goodness, they only do such worship as a matter of duty, right? So they perform different austerities, but they only perform that as a matter of duty. They are not attached to the result. So that is in the mode of goodness. But typically we find people only in the category of passion and ignorance. So self-torture or torturing others, that is not good for us. It is only going to be detrimental for us. So Hiranyakasipu was self-torturing. He performed sacrifices for thousands of years. And at one point, he became, all his muscles and skin were lost. He was just like a skeleton. And he had ant hill on top of him, completely covered by ant hill. So what is the use of such austerity? It is only detrimental to the entire human race. Right? So we find in modern day also, people perform so much of austerity. Right? I have seen persons who pierce their body, and then they hang themselves in an iron nail, and then they are hung to a big iron rod, and they carry such people in procession, and then they perform such austerity to please certain demigod. These are all completely wrong way of performing austerities. Nowhere in the scriptures have they mentioned that you should be self-torturing yourself. Right? So we should perform austerities only to please Lord Krishna. Like devotees you find, they also perform austerities, like they do upavas on certain days. Like for example, yesterday was Ekadashi. Vaishnavas, they perform upavas on Ekadashi. They don't eat grains. They fast on fruits and roots. Why we perform all that? It is not to torture our body. It is to give pleasure to Lord Krishna. It is mentioned in the scripture, anybody who performs Ekadashi Vrata, they become very dear to Supreme Lord Krishna. And we have Janmashtami and Balram Jayanti, which is coming up. Coming Monday is Lord Balram's appearance day, Balram Jayanti. And 26th of August is Krishna Jayanti, Krishna Janmashtami. So on these days, devotees take austerities. On Balram Jayanti, on Monday, we perform half-a-day fasting. We don't eat anything. We don't even drink water. Why we perform such austerity? It is not to gain some material benefit or anything. We only want to please Krishna. Because ultimately a devotee knows the goal of life is to reach Krishna's abode. And to reach that destination, we want to be pleasing Krishna in each and every moment. Such festivals like Krishna Jayanti or Balram Jayanti, they are an opportunity for us to become very close to Krishna. What is Upavas means? Upa means near, and Vasam, which means to stay. So Upavas means we are staying very near to Krishna. How we can stay very near to Krishna? By always remembering or thinking about Krishna. So that is why we dedicate that day for complete remembrance of Lord Krishna. And we avoid cooking on that day so that we are able to spend more time hearing about Krishna and chanting about Supreme Lord's name. Right? So that is the very reason for performing these austerities. So we need to be very judicious in deciding what kind of austerities we take. Okay, so next interesting aspect on speech. A person in the mode of goodness, he would always speak the truth. He does not speak anything which is non-truthful, not pleasing, or not beneficial to others. Very, very important. So, we should not be speaking something which is non-truthful, but it will be very pleasing to others. No. We should be speaking only the truth. In some cases, it may not be very pleasing also. Like for example, during these 17 sessions, I may be speaking many things which may not be palatable for many of you. Right? But still, I should be speaking the truth because it is spoken by Lord Krishna. It may not be palatable for some of you, but I cannot be speaking something which is not spoken by Krishna. Isn't it? I cannot say that this is mentioned in Krishna, in Bhagavad Gita, something which may be pleasing to you. Like many people, they say, whatever things that you do, whatever things that you did, whatever things that you are doing in the future, you do it because it is going to please Krishna. No, nowhere is it mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. So I cannot be giving such wrong statements quoting Bhagavad Gita. Right? So men in the mode of goodness, they always speak the truth in a pleasing way and something which is beneficial for others. What about people in the mode of passion? They manipulate things, they gossip for their own selfish needs. And people in mode of ignorance, they lie. Their speech is agitating and it is harming to others. Right? So you can categorize your own self in one of these three modes. Right? So apply this principle here. Whenever you are speaking, is it true, is it pleasing, and is it beneficial for others? And beyond these three filters, we should always be trying to speak only about Krishna. Krishna Katha. or Harikatha. A devotee, why he is above these three modes? Because he only speaks about Krishna. He doesn't use his mouth for anything else. That is the best way of controlling our speech. So very, very important here. As much as possible, try to speak about Krishna. Like you go and meet your friends or relatives, try to speak to them about Bhagavad Gita if they are favorable to listen to that. You tell them that, you can chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that is going to be beneficial for your own good. So like that, you can give Krishna to others. That is the best way of employing your speech. A devotee, one of his quality is that he is a Mauni, or he follows Mauna. Maunam means what? Not speaking anything nonsense other than about the topic of Krishna. A devotee is very mindful of speaking things which are only related to Krishna and his devotees. So that is a higher understanding of the aspect of speech. Right? And next, Krishna speaks about the state of one's mind. Mind is something which is very, very powerful. It can overtake our consciousness. So a person in the mode of goodness, he is contented, his mind is contented, he is satisfied. Whereas a person in passion is always dissatisfied, always in anxious state. You will find people who are very nervous, who are always anxious about things in life, right? So such people are the people who are in the mode of passion. Whereas ignorance is completely bewildered and illusioned. People who go and kill others, who perform such sinful activities, those are the people who are in the mode of ignorance. Right? So a devotee has to engage his mind always in Krishna. That is the natural state of samadhi. Samadhi means what? We are always 24/7 thinking about Krishna. Ambarish Maharaj is a famous example given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Ambarish Maharaj, he used to fix up his mind always at the lotus feet of Krishna. Though he was a great king, having such a great possession, still he was sweeping the temple, engaging his hands and legs in the service of Lord Krishna. Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayo. That is what Bhagavatam says. He was always engaging his mind, in the service of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. Krishna Padara Vindam. Right? The lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So that is the best way of engaging our mind in the service of the Lord. So that is the best way. So by doing that, we are actually crossing the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Right? And then comes the aspect of charity. Charity in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So we all love to give charity. Some of us may be giving charity to some anadha ashrama, orphanage. Some may be giving charity to the beggars on the street. Others may be giving charity to the old age homes in different ways, right? So charity in the mode of goodness is done out of duty, no expectation, done in proper time and place, given to a worthy person. For example, I am giving a charity to a beggar. What if the beggar goes to the wine shop and drinks? Right? So that is charity in the mode of ignorance. I am not giving charity to a proper person in a proper place. Right? So for that, I am going to incur karma big time. So a person in the mode of passion, he does charity expecting some returns. He would go and put money in the Tirupati hundi, but he would expect his business to flourish. That is charity in mode of passion. Whereas ignorance, it is completely done in a wrong way, in an impure place, improper time, unworthy person. Like some people, they may they may prepare nice non-vegetarian food, invite all unworthy persons, and give them food. They think that that is annadana, right? So these are charities that are performed in the different modes. What is the best charity that we can do for a Krishna conscious endeavors? When somebody is propagating Krishna consciousness to others, give charity to such people or such organizations, right? So Krishna, he does not see what we give, he sees what we are holding back. We may be bolstering ourselves, saying that, I am such a charitable person, I give a lot of food for needy persons, I may give a lot of money to others. Krishna doesn't see all that. Krishna sees how you are employing your money, where you are engaging your money in. Are you giving that money for Krishna and his Krishna conscious purposes or not? And how much are you holding back? I may be earning in crores, but I would go to a temple and give 1,000 rupees. So that is not in line with Krishna's expectations, right? Use all the resources to enhance the mission of the Supreme. That is the best charity. You can, if you want to give charity, you can give the charity of giving Bhagavad Gita to others, or you can give charity for prasadam. ISKCON in Dwarka, Delhi, during the COVID time, they actually served Krishna prasadam to, if I am not wrong, lakhs of people. And the devotee in charge of that department, he was actually sharing during that 1 year COVID period, they served lakhs of plates of prasadam each day throughout the year, and they spent close to 6 or 7 crores during that time. And the devotee was sharing that how many people they contributed for that service. That is the topmost service that we can do to the humankind. Serving or giving prasadam to others. Right? So you can contribute for such noble causes. You should be extremely careful where you are spending your charitable money in. Take some precaution, take some guidance from devotees, and engage your money in proper time, place, and circumstances. Give charity to people who are worthy of giving charity. Right? So these are some things that we should be mindful. The easiest way is to give the charity of Bhagavad Gita. Many people, I know, many of our relatives, whenever they conduct so marriage functions or Shashti Aptabhurti or many other functions, they make it a point that they give a gift of Bhagavad Gita. Like many of us, we find, we attend some marriage functions and they give some vessels or they give some gift items, right? So these devotees, they give only transcendental books, Bhagavad Gita or many of Srila Prabhupada's small books. Because by giving such charitable gifts, you never know how that person would be transformed. I know for sure my one of our relatives, during the Navaratri celebration, she was actually giving Srila Prabhupada's small books. And one of my wife's college friend, she apparently came for that Navaratri and she got that book from this devotee. And many, many years later, my wife learned that her friend, who actually got that small book of Prabhupada, she actually became a devotee now. And she was addressing my wife as Hare Krishna Saranya, and they started having conversation, and now they got settled in Dubai. And that person, my wife's friend, she is now chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra 16 rounds. she got connected to ISKCON and she started practicing Krishna consciousness. She's now become a nice devotee of Lord Krishna. How the transformation happened? Just by getting a gift of a small book, a Krishna conscious book. So we never know how a book can transform an individual. So if you wish to give charity, the best charity is the charity of transcendental knowledge. Right. So now we will come to the conclusion of this chapter. Can one of you read this translation?
Prabhu, from the beginning of creation, the three words on Tat Sat were used to indicate the supreme absolute truth. These three symbolic representations were used by Brahmanas while chanting the hymns of the Vedas and during sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Supreme. Hare
Right.
Krishna.
Thank you. So why Krishna is saying this? Om Tat Sat actually represents that whatever sacrifices that you are doing, it has to be done as an offering for Supreme Lord Krishna. It has to be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. I was telling one pastime earlier in the class as well. During Krishna and Balarama's advent in Vrindavan, they encountered a group of Brahmanas who were performing sacrifices. And when Krishna's friends approached the Brahmanas, Krishna was hungry, and you please give whatever offerings that you have for the yajna. The Brahmanas refused to give. They said, no, we will only perform this yajna. After the yajna is over, you come and take prasadam. What kind of understanding is that? When Krishna himself is sending his representative asking for an offering, and the whole purpose of performing yajna is to please the yajna purusha. Who is the yajna purusha? Supreme Lord Krishna. If you are not able to satisfy Krishna, then the whole purpose of that yajna is waste. Right? So that is the whole point where Krishna is driving us towards. And what does the term Om Tat Sat mean? Om Tat Sat means Om represents Krishna or Vishnu. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying the syllable Om represents him. Right? And Tat represents that performance of activity with an intention for liberation, with a detached nature. Right? Perform any activity with detachment, aiming for liberation. And Sat actually represents dedicating that activity for the pleasure of Supreme Lord Krishna and his devotees. So, any activity that we perform, it should be performed with remembrance of Krishna, with an element of detachment and aiming for liberation, and the activity should be pleasing to the Supreme Lord Krishna. So that is what the Vedic terminology Om Tat Sat actually represents. So and finally Krishna is saying anything done as sacrifice, charity or penance without faith in Supreme is impermanent. It is called Asat and is useless both in this life and in the next life. So think about all the different aspects that we discussed today. Evaluate yourself whether you are performing an activity for the pleasure of Krishna or not. So that is the bottom line filter that you need to apply. If it is not going to be pleasing to Supreme, then better don't perform that activity. If you are performing an activity for your own satisfaction, your own satisfaction of your desires, then such sacrifices or performances are not recommended by Krishna. Right? So ultimately, pouring the water to the root. Yathataror mula niseshanena. I was explaining this in the earlier class as well. Do an activity to please Krishna, then automatically everything else is nourished. Thank you so much. So this is on the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Basically, we saw the three modes of nature, how it operates on the different activities. Activities of eating, activities of performing sacrifices, activities of worshipping, performing or giving charity. So these are different aspects that we saw today. Hope that gave you somewhat clarifications on many of the questions that you may have. Now it is open for questions from you. I will first take Sri Vidya Mataji's question and then we will proceed to other questions. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, as I asked, how it is self-defense. Even if we are not wrong at one place, we should not defend ourselves. Is that wrong? That is mentioned in scripture.
Okay. Self-defense. So basically you are trying to clarify to others that you are not wrong, right? Is that what you intend to say?
Not in general, I'm asking, Prabhuji, that any incident. In general, only I'm asking.
Okay. So defending yourself.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So basically, you need to act in such a way that you are not working on the platform of false ego. So that is the bottom line activity. So false ego means you are identifying yourself with this material body. So somebody may be working for name and fame. Why somebody is working for name and fame? Because that has to do with his own body. Right? So as long as you can evaluate yourself, whether you are working on a bodily conscious or not. So that should determine your activity, whether you want to defend yourself or not. So that is what is going to determine. Say for instance, when somebody is blaspheming you, then you want to defend yourself saying, no, I am not so and so. So basically you are trying to prove a point that you are this body. So a better approach to that situation would be you move out of that situation. Why you want to prove your own point that you are not what you are thinking? Better you get away from that situation. You don't want to prove a point to the other person at all. By proving a point, you are again working on the platform of body. So there is no need to defend yourself in that situation. If the other person is not going to acknowledge your points, you better move out of that situation.
Okay,
Is that
Prabhuji.
fine?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Thank you. Padma Mataji?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Now, when it comes to charity, we are told now not to give beggars any cash. But instead, you can carry biscuits or some eatables, whenever they ask, you can give it to them. So when we give that, can we say Om Tat Sat? Because I heard one or two that you can say
chant, the simplest way is to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
And give it.
You can give prashadam as much as you want to the beggars.
Yeah. But Om Tat Sat also means like, for the pleasure of Krishna, isn't it?
Yes. But the thing is, as I was mentioning, in the Kali Yuga specifically, Hari Kirtanam is what we need to be doing. So anything that begins with Om is a Vedic mantra and it requires certain qualifications. So the safest way for us to do is to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. That doesn't require any qualification.
Yeah. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so tomorrow's session may drag a little bit more because the 18th chapter is quite big. And apart from that, I would also like to make some concluding statements and also give directions for the future classes. So I request all of you to kindly be patient and plan your day so that you can listen to the entire class for probably 1.5 hours or more. So I'm just giving a prelude to tomorrow's session.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. In this chapter, you are talking about worshipping one. That is worshipping demigods. That is a passion. Everything you told. In which category will this come? Worshipping dead ancestors or their own family members?
Yeah.
Some
What do you think is the category? What do you think is the category?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Now you saw the session today. Where do you categorize that according to you?
Is it that ignorance or what else?
Exactly. Ignorance, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Completely in ignorance.
Okay, Prabhuji. Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah. I am seeing some messages from the chat box. Many of the leaders fought for freedom, socialism, and peace as swung into action during the 19th century. Of them, Mohandas, Gandhi, Lokmanya Tilak, Subhash Chandra Bose, and Vivekananda are important. Gandhi became out and out a communalist. Lokmanya Tilak became a democrat and humanist. Netaji Chandra Bose became an adventurist, and Swami Vivekananda became a humanist. The greatness of Gita lies in it and political material in nature. So it will make a new Hindustan an example and will establish a new world order if entire humanity exhorted to it, right, and proper direction. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Bharto Dhanurdana. Right. So basically, the need of the hour is Bhagavad Gita. So if you are a leader, you should be leading by example. Yadyad Acharati Sreshta Tatat Evo Tanojana. So basically, if you are a leader, you need to lead by example as mentioned by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So, as Prabhu rightly mentioned, the famous personalities like Gandhi or Tilak, they all may have done their own bit in the freedom movement. But the real freedom is to get out of this material conception. Unless you can give that thought process to the prajas, that you are not this body, you are the spirit soul, then being a leader is of no good. People may think that after the freedom struggle, we all have this thought process of we are Indians. But that is not the real understanding. The real nature of all of us is that we are the servant of Krishna. There is no point in saying that we are Indians or we are Chinese or we are Russian. These are all bodily designations. If a leader can inculcate that thought process by which we understand that we are all servant of Krishna, that is real leadership. The great leaders of the Bharat Bhumi, people like the great devotees like Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Sankaracharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, these are the real leaders who actually gave us bhakti. So that is what a leader is supposed to be doing. Yes. One final question. Yes, Padma Mataji, I'll take this question alone.
Yes, Prabhuji, I just want to ask you this. You said mentioned a verse Savai Mana Pada Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam. Where do you find that? If you can give me the reference, Prabhuji.
Yeah, again, I don't know the exact verse number because Bhagavatam has 18,000 verses. You can find
Which book?
that.
Which book? First book or second? At least that you can tell me.
Yeah, it is in 9.4.18 in Bhagavatam. 18.
9.4.
9,
9
4,
for
18,
18.
20. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
9th canto, 4th chapter, and 18th to 20th.
18, yeah. Thank you. Thank you,
We'll paste
Prabhuji.
the link in this chat box. You can pick it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can click on this. So this is all available on the internet, vedabase.com. So you can find the entire Bhagavatam in that link. Fine. Thank you so much, all the devotees. Looking forward to the last session tomorrow. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavad pranam.
Dandavad pranams. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.